let me ask you this question. I studied many religions, and this is my belief as a former Muslim. Islam is a danger to humanity because of what we see, and it's not separated from Islam. It has a doctrinal root.
It does.
So, what your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. I think that when you get deep down into what Islam is, it absolutely involves and includes politics and government. You can't separate the mosque and the state. And so if Muslims have the opportunity to, they will implement Sharia. And that will become a very dangerous situation for people who don't want to be Muslim.
From what way? Like, how?
Well, even currently you see in the world, Christians and other forms of non-Muslims, Ahmadis, Baha'is, people of other religious traditions, they are persecuted. In an Islamic state, they wouldn't be allowed to preach their religion or discuss their religion or evangelize or propagate their religion. You have to be quiet. You can't express yourself. So there's strict rules and regulations in terms of Islam is the only way. This is the only religion that's allowed to be preached and propagated in this society. And if you're non-Muslim, you have to be quiet. The dhimmi, the one who is a non-Muslim, is literally a second class. If I wouldn't even put it second, it's like a fifth class citizen in an Islamic state. The liberties and the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. You can disagree with any foreign policies or domestic policies you want with the United States of America. You can even talk about, some of the mistakes that we've made as a country. But the liberties and the freedoms that we enjoy in the United States that allow us to express ourselves would not be there in an Islamic state. I don't care how liberal your theology is. Hands down, the Sharia does not allow it. That's how it would be, and that's a danger.
And how about women? And you talked about minorities. How about freedom of speech and women?
I mean, that would absolutely be another major issue. I think with the Salafis, easily, with the organization at Hizb ut-Tahrir that wants to implement Sharia and create a global caliphate, definitely women would be treated as inferior. You wouldn't be allowed to go out in the streets except with a guardian. In Afghanistan, you see examples of women having to wear burqas and getting hit with sticks if they're inappropriate in any way. So you see two radical schools of thought within Islam, and they would have to battle it out between themselves over what version of Sharia would get implemented. But I think regardless of what version is implemented, women would be a lot more limited in the roles that they could play in society.
Do you think Americans should be aware of this danger, or should they just accept Islam as one of the religions that exist here in this country?
No, I don't believe in multiculturalism. I think that there are better ways to handle policies. There's ways to be humane, and there's ways to be inhumane. And in Islamic society, there's a lot of inhumane actions that go on, and people should be aware of how people are being persecuted and treated in the world. And we should work on making this world a better place.
Should we stop Islam from spreading in the United States?
I think that should be a goal that we should have.
Would that be against freedom of religion?
No, they can believe whatever they want. I think that we need to approach Islam intellectually. We need to tell them how Islam is dangerous and why Islam is wrong. Those are two important topics that we need to tackle with Muslims. And I think that if we tackle how Islam is dangerous and why Islam is wrong intellectually, then we can reach the hearts and minds of Muslims. Peace and love. So in this video, I want to accomplish a couple of things, but probably the most important thing I want to accomplish is that I want to reach out to Muslims and let them know that I love and respect them, and I believe that Islam is a valid path for people. While Dharma is the path that is most suitable for me, it's the path that helps me become a better person and gets me closer to God, I realize that Hinduism isn't for everyone, and that there are other paths that help people become closer to God and these paths help them become better people. And in the spirit of that, the idea is not to convert anyone to Hinduism, but rather it is to demolish exclusivity from the hearts and minds of people. That is one of my first and foremost goals that I have. And in order to do that, we have to tackle these exclusivist arguments. And this is not an agenda against Islam or Muslims. It's not an agenda against Christianity, and nor is it an agenda of conversion, but rather it is a hope that we can come to appreciate that everybody is on their own journey and that there are different paths that help people become better people and help them become closer with God. In addition, I think that it would be a true tragedy if a lot of the Muslims that I knew would ever consider leaving Islam. I think that Islam is a beautiful path that helps people become more disciplined and helps people avoid vices. It helps people connect with God. And so I have nothing against Islam or Muslims, and I hope to make that clear. And if I have to be redundant, I will. So that being said, I have to clarify some of my past, right? So in looking at my past interviews, obviously the two interviews that come up is number one, the interview that I had with Rashid. It was actually recorded in 2013 and published in 2015. But in watching that interview, I agree with everything in that interview up until the very end. And in the very end, Rashid asked me, do I think Islam is a danger? And so obviously I have repented from my statement, and I no longer hold the view that I responded with, which I said that Islam is a danger within the context of Sharia law. So here's the thing. Sharia law is not on the minds of the majority of the 1 point whatever billion Muslims that there are out there. The reality of the situation on the ground inside of the mosques is that these are normal, beautiful people who are simply following their tradition, following their parampara, right? Following what has been handed down to them. And they're trying to connect with God in their own way. These are lay people. Most of these people don't care about politics or any of the divisive rhetoric that is out there between religions and people. And, in spending time at the mosque, even nowadays, if I go to the masjid, I can't resist the reality that so many of these people are so disciplined, far more disciplined than even I am or many other people that I know. And not only are they disciplined, but they have a genuine relationship with God. They have a genuine connection with God. And you experience that when you spend time in the Muslim community and get to know people. And what happens is that a lot of people who are Islamophobic, they haven't gotten to know Muslims. And so in terms of my response to that question that Rashid asked, like I said, I liked the whole interview up until the very last point where, I said that Islam is in danger within the context of Sharia law. So I take that one back. So the other interview was when Sam Shamoon had asked me, besides hell, is there any other reason why you left Islam? Or after you left Islam, how did you begin to view the Prophet of Islam? So obviously I said something along the lines of, regardless of what I said, I think that I'm past that. I don't need to judge people or prophets or saints or sages. That's not in my place. So I repent from that as well.